Welcome to Going Deeper with David Steele, the show that dives into the heart of environmental solutions while literally floating on the source, the ocean. In just a few short minutes, we'll meet with the entrepreneurs and game changers that are making a difference in people's lives through the products and services they provide. Get ready to unplug from the matrix of mediocrity and plug into nature as we discuss the solutions to many of today's biggest challenges. It's time to go deeper. Super stoked out here to do a podcast with my dear friend Jim Bunch. I think at one point we figured out that we've known each other about 30 years, something like that now. Yeah. And I'm just incredibly excited that we get to work together and play together and surf together and now podcast together. So Going Deeper is my new passion, and it's about the environment. And we have a lot of things in our past. U.S. Green Chamber of San Diego. And the idea was, can we create a conversation about sustainability for business? And can we educate people? And can we advocate for sustainability? And I am stoked to know that you're still involved with the U.S. Green Chamber. And we have chapters throughout the country now. And that's a really great thing. We could do a whole podcast about that. But today I really kind of want to talk about your new endeavor, my endeavor, and talking about solar and why we think it's important, So I guess one of the first things to ask is, what's your why in relationship to the environment?
Yeah, so I think I've been doing disruptive technology companies for 30 years. This particular one, which is a clean tech platform called Powur, started with our trip to the Amazon rainforest. And, Jonathan Budd and myself went down with Lynn Twist, a dear friend of ours.
Love Lynn Twist, one of my heroes in life.
Author of Soul of Money. She started with Bill, her husband, the nonprofit Pachamama, which stands for Mother Earth. And my first exposure to Lynn was actually at the Transformational Leadership Council with Jack Canfield and John Gray, John Asraf, everybody from The Secret. And she came in and did a symposium where we got to go through a 2-hour process to realize that all of us are making an impact. In other words, the way we live, what we eat, how we drive, the companies that we build are having an impact. Now, in many cases, that's started with the best intentions. I want to sell a product or service to solve a problem. But we aren't thinking about the unintended consequences of building those cars or those homes or that food and then we're shipping and this and that. So for me, honestly, I didn't get it at the level. My why wasn't activated until I went through that process. And then a couple of years later, I get a call from Lynn saying, we're going to the Amazon rainforest. Would you please join me? And immediately I knew that I was supposed to invite Jonathan Budd. So I call him up and I'm like, you're supposed to go with me. He's like, what are you talking about? I go, we're leaving for the Amazon. And he tells a story. If Bunch calls you and says you're going, you're going. So we're in the Amazon rainforest. We're 200 miles deep. There's nothing but Amazon. There's the river. There's canopy. There's no hospitals. There's no roads. There's no way out. If we crash land on this way in, and we're in a hopper plane, it's Bill Twist, the pilot, me and Jonathan. And actually, crazy enough, just a few months ago, one of those planes did crash and everybody was killed. So 11 years ago, we're flying into the Amazon rainforest. And my first thing is, where the hell are we going to land? There's no runway, but they show me this little tiny strip where they had cut trees down. I'm like, okay, it's pack in, pack out. We land successfully. We grab our gear. And then we hop in a boat and we're floating down the Amazon River until we find these huts that are over the water. This is the beginning of our journey. I didn't know that a few days later, we'd find ourselves doing a medicine ceremony with the shaman in the rainforest. And that night on ayahuasca is where Jonathan downloaded the vision to come back and build the world's first clean energy platform that would disrupt and decentralize the dirty energy grid to the new. Solar is just a product on top. You fast forward to today, right? We've grown it from a couple of us to, 360 employees. 7,000 7,000 salespeople, 1099s, hundreds of installation partners around the United States and 20 plus states. We've kept over 1 billion pounds of carbon out of the atmosphere. And most people don't realize these houses up here, on average, produce 4,500 pounds of carbon dioxide from burning dirty energy. What does that mean? That's about a BMW X5 in weight of carbon that goes from every house. So when you put solar on that, you keep the carbon out of the atmosphere because you're using the sun. So my why has always been to help humanity. It's to shift the way we do life, to shift the way we do business. This is one of the vehicles that we've built that is, quite honestly, I think making one of the bigger impacts on the planet. It's helping people shift from careers they maybe aren't inspired by or don't love to careers where they're making an impact, they're making an income, life-changing income, and they're helping future generations with a business model and a product that they can feel great about. So that's that company 11 years ago that we started, and Inc. 5000 fastest growing the last 4 years in a row. I'm only sharing this because whoever's watching this podcast, they may be a small business, an entrepreneur, no employees. They may be thinking about a business, or they may have thousands of employees. I believe what you and I were talking about with the U.S. Green Chamber, that every business could become a force for good and become more sustainable. We've now proven it not by just doing other people's companies, but we've been building and starting and funding and scaling companies that are solving real world problems and doing it incredibly well.
That's incredible. I love that. I love hearing the vision and the story of how it began. And for myself, not just because of you, but you're a big part of it, but because of you and Jonathan. But it was because you decided to do this company as carbon neutral and as a public benefit corporation. And that just means so much because, we have to realize everything we do has an impact. And so, I can get all the solar panels in the world, and it's not going to make a difference if I'm not offsetting the cost of what it took to make that product in the first place.
The environmental cost.
The environmental cost. Yeah. And so...
Woo, got a little one peeking up here, by the way. I love it.
Yep.
You guys will see this in the cams.
There you go. Anyway, that's what kind of turned me on. It's like, I want to be a part of a B corporation, which means we have a higher vision, which means one day when we go public, our shareholders can't say, hey, why are you doing that, instead of only for what's our benefit, if what we're doing is for the mission of the company. And I remember when I first launched the U.S. Green Chamber of Commerce, I thought, God, wouldn't it be amazing to do a megawatt of solar in San Diego County, like a whole megawatt? It was a long time ago, and I was like, this would be incredible. And we've had months where Powur's done almost 20 megawatts of storage in a month. It's
like just residential, not utility or not, So that's an important distinction too.
Yeah. So it's the direction that we're going, what we're doing, and the leadership. I say it sometimes and it almost sounds corny because Jonathan's the CEO of such a big company, but I'm freaking proud of him. I've seen him step up, and I'm like, he's not going anywhere. Yeah, we could be a $10 billion company and he's going to be running it, because he's just he's so real. He's so present. He's so this is what's going on. Here's the truth of the matter. Here's what I need. And we'll follow him anywhere. And you as well. It's been amazing. In the last 2 weeks, I've been helping a few of the other companies that haven't had the time that we've had in solar. And those people are coming on board. I've had 25 interviews in the last 2 weeks.
What you're talking about, so for people who are watching, is that right now the solar industry is going through some challenging times, and a lot of industries are. And, some people approach it from a competition standpoint. I was just talking to a client of mine earlier this morning about anytime you can turn competition into your partners, it means that your vision, mission, and values aligned. Yes. What a lot of companies do is they go, I want to be number one in the industry, this, that. Well, that doesn't give attribution or credit to the fact that we're all on the same team. And when I say all, there's 8 billion players in this game called life. You're one, I'm one. We all took physical form. We have a body. We can fog a mirror until we can't. and then we return our bits to the universe. So I look at this as we're all in the same game. And if COVID taught us one thing I think people need to be reminded of, COVID taught us that we're all connected through breath. A virus spread around humanity and shut down our planet by one thing called breath. That one thing called breath is also what keeps us in the body. And, I've been telling this to people for the last couple of years. I'm probably one of the few people that has an actual picture of my son when he was just 4 cells, because we went through in vitro. He's now 17. He's getting ready to go to college. I found a picture the other day that the doctors took after the in vitro when he went from 2 cells to 4 cells. Now think about this and why we're all connected. And it hit me at a different level. I went, wait a second. Those 4 cells are borrowing material from my wife, Michelle. She's eating and drinking and consuming whatever she's consuming. He's borrowing carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen to go from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 cells. Then he forms his organs, forms his bones and his tissues, and then he comes from in her environment out into the world. They cut the cord. He takes his first outside breath, and now he's borrowing material from the universe to exist. And at some point, me, you, him, everybody who's watching, we'll take our last breath. And if you've never seen somebody pass, it's the most incredible thing, because you can literally feel the difference when their soul is in the body and when it's not. I'm sharing this because we're all borrowing material from the planet, and we're going to return our bits to the universe when we take that last breath. You literally lose all your fluids. The soul goes back to being connected fully to source, right? It's always connected, but you know what I mean. You can feel it. I've been there when people pass, and you know that that's just a body. When we remember that we're all connected, and anything we do to each other, we do to ourselves, and anything we do to ourselves, we do to each other, you can start to recognize that, wow, we can actually all change the way we do life and the way we do business. We can recognize the truth of this universe is we're all connected. Everything's energy, and anything is either lifting us up or lowering us down. It's inspiring or expiring us. So when you build a company, when you invest in a company, when you go to work for a company, when you buy their products and services, you are actually casting your vote that you want that to be more of your future. When I put $1 into a company, I want more solar or I want more coal. That's basically what I'm saying. When I go to work for a company and I align with a CEO who's vision, mission, and values driven, and I know the rules of governance, which state, for example, in a B Corp, we have to do what is right by the vision and mission over short-term shareholders' interests. That lets us make decisions that we're going to forego 90 days or 180 days of profits because we need to do this instead. When CEOs and shareholders and board of directors and employees recognize that all business going forward needs to have a purpose to fix the shit we broke over the last couple 100 years, we're going to change the game. And you're seeing this in B corporations. You're seeing this with entrepreneurs spinning up apps that are using AI and using blockchain and bringing products and services to market that are making our food better, our water better, our transportation better, our energy sources, our education. There's actually 80 verticals that need to shift. Energy is just one, right? So whether it's solar, wind, hydro, or geo, that's replacing coal, gas, and nuclear, right? And a lot of people think nuclear is, I'm gonna soapbox here for a minute. A lot of people think nuclear is clean energy. It is if we had a place to put the spent fuel, they call it, but it's nuclear waste. And right up the coast here in San Onofre, there's 4 million pounds of spent fuel that will not degrade for 100,000 years. That's right off the fault line and the ocean. If that goes bad and you've got one utility that is burying those things on the shore, it's a risk of terrorist attack, it's a risk of a tsunami, and it's at risk of a fault. That will shut down 500 miles of the most valuable coastline in the world, and you're talking about 30 million people that will be affected from L.A. down to Mexico. We have to think through the consequences of what we do. Same was true with solar panels, and I don't want to plug this. We were the first company to say, wait a minute, those panels require lithium mining. They require energy to ship that stuff, to manufacture that stuff, to then ship the panels and the batteries and inverters. We're the first company to actually offset the carbon of that by planting all the trees, 34,000 trees so far that we've planted to offset the materials that we're, having to use to harness the sun. So I think our species is starting to raise its awareness. I think what you're doing here to let people know that we're all nature. You can't live without oxygen, food, water, energy, you can't survive. Here comes another big one. It's perfect timing, right? Like this is the big sets coming in. This is what humanity has to realize is there are massive shifts, and I'm gonna pause and let you hop back in here. We have the biggest opportunity to create the most abundance we've ever seen as a planet.
I know that that's true. I know that it's true. And, when I stepped into Powur, it was like, this is a B Corp. It's something I believe in. Yeah, I could do this thing. And, as I got sort of matriculated into the Powur universe, I'm like, you know what, this is where I'm going to finish my career because I'm making a difference. And the thing that matters most to me is my children. They're grown, but like leaving the world a better place for them is what, for me, it's all about. And so, working in a company that I believe in their mission, values, and just ethos, why would I think of going anywhere else? And no company's perfect, and we figured our way along the way, but like every day, every week, every month, it just gets better and better. It's like what we have now for anybody wanting to get into the solar industry, what we have put together, it's rock solid. There's not another industry that I think that you can get into, create the abundance for your family and yourself, and be making a difference than Powur. Like literally, I just know it in my soul.
Well, you're bringing up the importance of culture, and one of our things is innovation, right? And get shit done. So the team that's assembled now, Jonathan is the CEO, the other C-levels, the managers, the sales force of thousands of independent entrepreneurs who are aligned with this vision and mission. One of the things somebody asked me the day before yesterday, hey, there's a new company that's coming into your space and, they're doing some cool shit. What do you think about them as your competition? And I go, dude, I don't believe in competition. As a matter of fact, if anything, you look at the Olympics, which are coming up. The Olympics were formed because the best athletes in each country didn't have anybody to compete against to make them better. So what happened is they got together in the Olympics in Athens or Greece, wherever the first one was, and they said, let's bring our best of our best together, lay down our arms, and let's compete so our best of our best can get to the next level. And I look at business the same way. If somebody comes in and they have an innovative or disruptive model, that's just going to make us better. Or the way we work is we're all on the same team. If somebody comes in and cracks a code on Fusion tomorrow, we're going to go back to surfing.
Yeah,
right. Or solve the next problem.
Absolutely. And it's, as a simple example, just the other day I was talking to someone who was with one of those companies that's kind of struggling, came on board, put in his first projects that he hadn't started yet with the other company, and he's like, Dave, you're like 25% less, and my earnings are 100% more. He's like, I don't understand it, but can you be on a call tonight? I have a few friends I want to bring on. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. I could do that. And, without getting into the weeds, I love what we do, but I also love that we're here. For you and I, like, nature is a big part of our life. And for me, like, it's source, especially here in the ocean. We're sitting on paddleboards, but I'm looking at your house, which is literally right there. I'm like, Jim, can you walk across the street and get on the paddleboard? You're like, yeah, I think I could do that. I'll be back at work in an hour. But it's been, it's been a fun journey. And the funny part is, we've just begun. We barely just begun, and we're bigger than anything. It's incredible to think, of the amount of people that we're helping. And anytime in business that you can have a win-win-win, it's just like, wait a minute, is there something wrong? And if there's not, why aren't I just all in?
Something wrong with the rest of the model. And that's the key. I want to go back to your win-win-win, because a lot of people don't recognize this. Unless everybody wins, then we don't win. And so when you're structuring your business or you're thinking through how you want to make your impact, think about, in our case, we talk about the homeowner. Does the homeowner get the highest quality product at the lowest price with the best guarantee? All right. If that's not true, then your whole model breaks down. does the sales force who's educating the homeowner on all the different products and services and keeping them out of the bad players, because there's some people who are either ignorant or they're bad players. Are they winning? In other words, not just short-term, but long-term. Can they make a living doing good, and can they help others do the same thing so that they have some freedom? We talk about time, location, financial, and inner freedom. That's them winning. We're trying to get the homeowners, and I'm working on a project, I can't talk too much about it now. We might be able to make solar free. Like, that's why I was down in Puerto Rico last week, and I'm flying to Sundance next week, is I think these guys might have cracked the code on how to financially change the model so that solar is actually free, not, offset and cost savings, but free. We do that, and now it's a race, but it's got to work for the homeowner. It's got to work for the company, right? It's got to work for all the vendors that are creating the products and services. It's got to work for our finance partners. It's got to work for our installation partners. It's got to work. There's 70 touch points on every project. Everyone has to win in order for it to be sustainable and to continue to grow. And that's the thing. It's not a do it once and you're done. You have to constantly tweak the model, because as the game changes, the plays and the players have to change and adapt. And that's why the culture is so important. Is if you think you've got it figured out today, I promise you a new set's going to come in that you have to adjust for.
100%. I was so blessed to get to interview Nastasia about Choice Juicery. And I said, why is everybody always smiling and coming in? And, every time I come in, it's like the most friendly store. And she's like, it's our ethos. We set up a barrier around the store. No matter what's going on in your life, when you walk in the door, it's about the customer. It's about happiness. I'm not doing it justice, but I was just like blown away. And I'm like, it's so true. I've never not had a good experience. And the entrepreneurs that do that with their business, that create that ethos and culture, that go there, that go to Mexico and do house builds like Powur does, the companies that do that are the ones that are going to win.
Well, you got to look at your employees as your customers, right? And so one of the things we do in the board meetings, and I'm not in the board meetings anymore, I'm out doing more of this kind of stuff to bring awareness to the company. But the board meetings start with 2 hours of every executive going around and talking about their happiness, their health, and their personal wealth. What's going on in your life? Because we're committing 10, 12, 16 hours a day to this company. But if we're not winning as individuals, the company can't sustain winning. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that culture has to come from within. It has to be your ethos. And again, one other piece I forgot to mention is, I talked about coal and I talked about methane gas or, gas, talk about nuclear. All of those people have to find a new path to winning too. So it's not okay for us to say it's us versus them. We're all in this game together. So those industries, we need a glide path and a transition path for them to go from this to that. And it has to be better than what they're already doing. If I was making $100 billion a month from burning coal, it'd be hard for me to want to let that go. I get it. But we have to have a financial vehicle that makes them more, because they have investors, they have employees, they have kids that are going to college. We have to make sure that the game of life wins for everybody who's here and is coming. So it requires a macro level of thinking. And that's why I put VR in the house, so I could sit outside the planet on Google Earth and look back at it and go, if we were going to change energy, education, transportation, banking, the stock exchange, if we were going to change everything so that we actually experience heaven on earth, what would that look like? How do we change the glide path of humanity and avoid this sixth mass extinction where we're consuming all of these things at our own cost? Cancer's higher than it's ever been. 7 million people a year dying of airborne particulate, right? We see the fog or smog layers, right? We lose more people to the stuff we pump in the air every year than we did to COVID. And people don't know it because we're spewing stuff out of our pipes. All right. So anyways, a little bit of a soapbox there. Here's the opportunity in all this. And I love what you're doing is raising awareness. Awareness is always the preceding to change. So the more that people realize there's better solutions in every industry, then the companies, the capital, the people will come to those and go, that's the company, like Patagonia, which is, where we started our first office, right above the Patagonia office, kind of kismet.
I was in that office just before you. Yeah, that corner office. I wanted that for 10 years and finally came open. I took it, and then you guys took it.
Right?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so, and actually the owner of that building, Robert, has now put solar on his house, right? A couple of houses, and Sandra, who was managing the place, she's the one who brought him in, right? So it's just kind of awesome. We all get to win. And I think with a higher level of thinking and aligning with these mission-driven companies, people are going to have more fun. They're going to feel that purpose again. They're going to make more money than they've ever made before. Their investments are going to grow. Like, I'm excited about the future. There's nothing that excites me more than the impact CEOs that are taking on these visions and missions and that are saying, I'm committing my time and capital to changing the world. I'm going to leave a dent in the universe. And it's measurable, it's tangible, it's trackable, and it's fun.
It's so true. And I think the other thing that's happening in our industry is the technology is getting better and less expensive and more affordable and more accessible. And so, we're about to see a tsunami of change, and I'm blown away because that's just what's needed, and we're sitting out here in the most beautiful part of the ocean that we love, right next to Swami's, one of the most famous, surf breaks, and where Yogananda first came to Encinitas and really helped create the culture of our community. And I see the change. I see it getting better. I see we're using less plastic bags. We're doing more things that are becoming normal and taking a step towards the environment. And I just hope we can educate and do it fast enough, because we're essentially in a race with the environment, and we need to act. It's cool to talk about it and to make change, but it's time to get off and just start doing it.
Here's the simple truth: the planet's going to be fine. Humans, we may or may not make it. All right. But the planet's going to be just fine. You saw this also in COVID, and you saw this when a nuclear meltdown happened, Chernobyl and this and that. Chernobyl now has the plants and the animals coming back.
Yeah.
Which is
during COVID, the ocean got cleaner.
It did.
It got cleaner.
The Venice canals got clean. You could see the dolphins in the Venice Canal. You could see Kilimanjaro from 30 kilometers away, and they had never seen it before, but now the air is clear. So the belief that we can't stop humanity and have the environment, that's bullshit. It's absolutely, we've already proven that we can stop humanity from buzzing around and polluting. We just now have to do it in a way that doesn't destroy humanity.
100%.
Right? And make it fun and cool and sexy to convert, not just buy an electric vehicle, but convert all the existing 1.5 billion passenger vehicles to clean. All right? That's another initiative that I want to take on. Change food, change water, change energy, change transportation, 80 verticals, and we're going to have a blast doing it.
And we could have probably a whole series of podcasts on this, but
yeah,
I actually think that rather than being scared of AI, I think AI is going to help us to bring the solutions that we need, because some of the solutions are super complex, and it's things like AI that are bringing out the ability for entrepreneurs to get to market quickly with ideas and things that could make a change. And so, I'm optimistic about it because of the great things that are possible.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe it, just believe that it's possible, that it can happen.
It's already happening. I've been teaching a course for 6 months to impact CEOs, specifically in the healthcare space, to use AI to disrupt the current sick care system and move people to more functional health systems, right? And if you look at the core business wheel that I teach, maybe we'll throw a visual in here, every part of your company can use AI: marketing, sales, finance, operations, legal, HR, technology. And there's a choice that the CEOs need to make. Do I want to use this AI to accentuate and accelerate my vision and mission and empower my team, right? So keep your existing team, like we have 360 employees. If we leverage AI to make them all better, we get to our goal faster. What some companies are doing, and they're getting beat up, the CEOs are like, oh, I'm going to cut my staff by 90% because AI can do their jobs. That's not the solution I think we need. I think we need to make sure that they're vision, mission, values-driven companies that are heading us into the right future. And when you look at this as a way to accelerate everything in our business, and there's things that the AI is built for that it can do really well, and there's things that humans...
We've got a small biplane coming by. I'm sure we can still hear.
Yeah. So I think proper use of AI is really important. I'm starting my second group of CEOs actually next week and taking them through this process to understand what are the tools, what are the prompts, but more importantly, how do you use it in business to accelerate clean energy, the shift to healthcare, the shift to clean transportation, whatever it is. And that's what I've made a commitment to, is I'll help any of those CEOs grow their visions and missions.
I love that you've always had this ability to facilitate change that's greater than yourself by helping others step up into their greatness, and I think that's, if I had to say like one of your great gifts, it's that you're looking at the big picture and you see it oftentimes in a bigger way than a lot of the entrepreneurs that you work with, and being able to help people step up increases your ability to facilitate change. On a smaller level, I do it at Powur rather than me talking to a homeowner and selling one solar job every day, which would be amazing. I'm building a team of, 1,000 warriors that are going to go out and sell, 1 or 10 a day, and so we're going to help to facilitate change by, actually growing. And I think that's one of the things, like, since I've known you, you're always looking at the bigger picture. You're always looking at how I can help people step into their greatness, and that lifts you up as well, so it's really cool. I remember, when your wife was just a happy homemaker and volleyball player, now she's like a freaking sales leader at Powur and just crushing it and doing her thing. And I understated. She's much more than that.
She was. I think this is an important point. Is that everybody has value in whatever they're doing, and people are ready for change. She basically came to me one day. This is after we're 7, 8 years into the company, and she in the beginning, she was the one that was hosting the parties at our house, right, where we brought new people in and investors in and shared the vision of what we were wanting to do. She created that environment. She ran our family. You know how crazy my life is with trips here and all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, she says to me one day on my birthday, July 7th, she says, "I want to sell Powur." And I was like, "Oh, that's cute." And I was like, "Whatever." And she goes, "No, I do." And then we moved Charles into the house, right? And I said, "You're going to work with Charles because it's not going to work for us to go through this. Your personality style needs somebody like Charles who will methodically." And yeah, it took her about 6 months to a year to learn that. And now she's got one of the best organizations. You've teamed up with her, and she's killing it. She's got friends involved, family involved. She's got, I don't know how many thousands of people on her team that are out every day making a difference. And she's having a blast doing it. She's making money. She now pays for her own trips to wherever, It's awesome. And she's just a good human.
Support you in the way you want to be supported.
Right? I do this stuff. So, yeah, no, she's awesome. And thank you for recognizing that. We've been together 22 years now. And she's one of the happiest people. And now she's making a big impact on another level. So
that's great. That's great. Well, I so appreciate getting out here with you, and I think we could probably sit here all day. But since we're going to be in the surf line in another 5 minutes, we might call it for this one. But I'm so excited for the future. I've been telling people, I think 23 was a year of foundation. I think a lot of people, either it was coming out of COVID or for whatever reason, they had one or more things going on in their life where when they look back at it, they're like, wow, 23 was a really challenging year. And I think it was a foundation for what's going to happen in 24. And I think this year is just like blowing it up, growth, craziness. I think it's going to be an epic year. And I'm already seeing that in people, that I know. And it's like been pretty consistent. People were like, yeah, that was challenging. We're ready.
I think it was a redirect. It was a pivot for a lot of people. They realized like, wow, there's areas of my life that are good, and there's areas I'm not happy in. There's areas where I'm spending time and money that need to be redirected. I want to shout out to you here and a call to action for everybody who's watching. This type of conversation needs to happen, long-form conversation where people are getting educated. And so I want to encourage every one of you to maybe listen to this once or twice. We dropped a lot of stuff in a couple chunks very fast. Number two, who do you know that needs or wants to hear this message? Maybe it's somebody who is a little lost. They're a little off track. They don't know what they should be doing to create value in the world. Send it to them. Maybe it's a CEO that's already on this epic mission, and they're like, man, I want to be around people like David Steele and Jim Bunch and Zach and everybody who's bringing these people together and bringing these messages. Because I'm telling you, it's not easy for these impact CEOs, for these C-level executives, for the staff, for the investors, because they feel like they're on an island a lot of times by themselves. And when they can look around and go, wait a minute, we are actually winning. We're actually doing cool stuff. They need to hear that from other people, and they need to be connected because life is a team sport. So, really get this message out, tag some people, put it on your blogs, share it on your social media. The more of this good stuff that's out there, it's called social proof. The rest of the world will start to recognize, wait a minute, there's a new way to do life. There's a new way to build companies, and we can have a blast doing it. So that's our ask, our call to action is to share what David's doing here. This is unique, right? This is disruptive. It's cool. We don't know what's going to come out of it, but that's the kind of thinking that will change the world. And it starts with one person telling a second, and then a fourth cell, and an eighth cell, and 32. And eventually we as an organization, 8 billion of us, get to head into a new direction. So that's my ask is just share.
Thank you so much, Jim. I so appreciate being out here with you, brother. And, if you want to get a hold of Jim Bunch or Powur is POWUR.com. And you could probably look Jim Bunch up there, but look him up there or look him up anywhere. But really, just a change maker and influencer in so many ways and so many lives, and definitely in mine. So thank you, my friend.
Awesome, brother. Love you much.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of Going Deeper with David Steele. I hope you found inspiration and insight to fuel your passion for a better world. Remember, change starts with us, and together we can be the driving force for a brighter and more sustainable future. So until next week, keep your hearts open, your minds curious, and your actions aligned with the planet's well-being. Stay committed, stay conscious, and let's meet right back here next time for another deep dive into making a difference.